Sometimes we wallow, sometimes we win. That is our motto, sometimes we win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us just the guy. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show, remember the sponsors. It's time to start the coming show. Don't give us the bird, don't give us a stink eye. We try our best for being weekly because we win. That is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us a bird, don't give us a stink eye. We try our stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. And we're successful. Come watch our show. Remember the sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
And a very good day to one and all. This is Betting Weekly Live. We're going to be talking soccer over the course of the next half hour, 40 minutes or so. Big games in England, Spain and Italy. All the latest when it comes to those three fixtures. Plus, we've got the latest from the weekend in terms of big winners and losers as well. Hopefully, we'll put you on to a winner or two. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Lewis Jones, as you can see. Lewis, how are you? How's your weekend? We had the culmination, at least of the regular season, and obviously American viewers will know what the regular season is all about when it comes to the EFL Championship. Any anti-post bets land for yourself?
Didn't really get... Yeah, good afternoon to everyone. Good morning, if you're in the States, of course. Anti-post wise for me, start of the season was quite quiet, actually. I didn't really find too many angles. Should have probably played the captain obvious lines, really. The Leeds, the Birminghams, they were there just screaming at you, saying they're the most obvious ones, but not really my style to take short prices that short at the start of the season. So I like to sort of delve in and out as the season sort of progresses and get involved. So I've got a few good live angles still. Got obviously PSG running for me for probably would be one of my biggest ever successes, actually, in gone at 22-1 and winning again at 16-1. So that's quite exciting. Haven't cashed any out yet. Haven't decided to trade any in. I'm going to stay true and let it run at least until the final. I will probably try and get some back. I think they'll probably get through this Arsenal tie. I'm also on Palace as well in the FA Cup at quite a nice price. So that's kept me quite excited. But most of my plays on the FA Cup market have been laying Man City. So I've got still quite a hurdle to overcome there. And they're now into minus money, aren't they? Plus, odds on. So a little bit sweaty there. So I might have to make some decisions before the final about to get myself into position. But no, nothing too extravagant on the anti-post, unfortunately. But as I said, should have probably just played the obvious, as I sense many people did.
Yeah, look. I think a lot of people know I was on Leeds, Birmingham, and Doncaster. Doncaster, myself and Nigel have talked about it a little bit. So I'll cash there. I did lay off a little bit ahead of the weekend. I thought it was being a little bit cute actually, because the way that the kickoff times stagger on that final day, the regular season, obviously with the Championship first and then League One and League Two later. I thought, do you know what? I can lay Leeds here, but I could lay Leeds. And they could draw. Burnley could draw. I could cop that leg of the futures, and I could cop my lay as well. And then it goes forward to Doncaster, and I'll do the same for them. But as it was, Leeds with that last minute winner.
Yeah,
I was sort of glad. But I was glad at the end. But at one stage, with Burnley losing and with Leeds losing, I thought, I could win double here. I got a little bit greedy. I ended up giving a little bit back, but I was fairly happy. But just on the Captain Obvious sort of picks for the futures, and obviously when the season starts again in a few months' time, and I know that you're always looking for angles, but there's an awful lot of favourites that have gotten in over the last few years. I mean, I know I stay away from the Premier League. I find it, I don't think there's any value. I think everything's there, but Man City have won. We've had a lot of the lower league teams, the sort of Birmingham's, like Wigan when they were back, Leeds when they've been back. You've seen a lot of favourites go in, Lewis. Sometimes you should just see what's in front of your face and bet it. I think sometimes with the future. Yeah,
it's good advice, Dan. I think sometimes we can I'm guilty of that across everything that I do, really, in terms of overcomplicating things sometimes and overanalyzing things and talk myself out of something which is the best bet and is going to land. And I think I'm sort of doing that in the playoffs at the moment with Sheffield United. I've seen a lot of shrewd people that are saying these are absolute certainties at around sort of 7-4 to go up through the playoffs because of how much they were far clear of the rest in the normal season, and that's going to play out in the playoffs. But I've had my doubts just because of this terrible record they've had in the playoffs. I think they've had nine 9 playoff attempts of going up, and they haven't managed to do it. So I think that might weigh them down. But again, am I just overcomplicating things by throwing things into the mix like that when the best team are trading at a very nice price, odds against, to go up and do what they've done all season? So yeah, it's one of these things you've always got to try and come to the best decisions without overcomplicating it sometimes. But that's something I'm still trying to learn to do, unfortunately.
Yeah. Welcoming one and all, Byron, first up on the comments, talking about while you guys were sleeping, Sporting Kansas City of Major League Soccer at home last night beat LA Galaxy by a 0-0. Sporting took 0 shot attempts in the match, not a shot on target, but they still won 1-0. Yeah, it was an own goal. I saw that. It was a cross that came in from the left-hand side. It was a Japanese player who used to play for Southampton that put through his own net. So they've won a game with 0 attempts on target. I think it was the first time ever in MLS. Hopefully, one or two of you bet that one. Paul, hello, Paul Laguna. Always nice to see Paul. He says, yeah, I had that down as a 0-0, but it didn't come through. He'd been done by an own goal. Always bet.
No goal scorer.
No goal scorer. No goals.
Of
The thing, do you know what? I was chatting about no goal scorer to someone the other day, and it's changed a little bit. A, you might not find it with every single bookmaker, and B, the odds are tweaked. So 0-0 and no goal scorer are no longer the same. And they used to be loose, didn't they, for a long time? It was a small edge, but you had it in your
little
favour.
edge, yeah. They always seem to close these edges up eventually, don't they? But yeah, no, that's a very good bit of advice there. Always the no goal scorer angle does cover you, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Disky, welcome all. Happy for you and Dan Lewis to be on the show. What else we got? Byron says, morning, gents. Thanks to Real Sociedad for screwing all of us. Against Athletic
I was on
Club.
Sociedad as well.
Oh,
I was there. Yeah, they absolutely.
We were on that one.
Yeah, no, that's the. That was I didn't actually watch the game. I was fed up of football by that point yesterday. I just looking at the data and everything that went behind that. I was surprised they didn't manage to get the victory. They got a terrible record after Europa League matches. Athletic Club,
Athletic Bilbao, they got a terrible one. Yeah, absolutely
terrible. So yeah, I was on that. Thought it was a nice price on the home win because they're very good in those Basque derbies at home. But another one bites the dust, unfortunately.
Benjamin says, hello, gentlemen, greetings. Ming says, hello, guys. Roebuck says, good afternoon, Dan and Lewis. Real Brendan Green, welcome back, Lewis. Good to see the GOAT back. Byron says, me too, with respect to Palace futures. Disky, what's Disky saying here? I've just thanks for PSG, Lewis, and Man City. We made, but I mean, look, we've been banging. Well, Lewis has been banging on about Paris Saint-Germain. I don't know when you first put them up. Were we on a live show, sort of back end of the group stages when you suggested them? Was that your first angle? I mean, we are going to talk Champions League very briefly with Lewis at the end of the show, and every single time I ask Lewis, are you gonna do anything with this bet? And Lewis is like, nah, I'll be all right. And like, you're proving right at the minute. Well,
the key one, I think I did mention them in the before they played Brest, I think, in the last 32, the playoffs, when they were bigger than 20-1 in places still. And then we had a big debate about whether I should go in again when they played Liverpool, when they went there 1-0 down after absolutely hammering them. And it was a decision, do you just back them to win the game, or do you just invest more in the anti-post? And I managed to take the right decision there and got on again at 16-1 anti-post. So I'm in a very, very good position with it now, and it's very exciting. I don't like to talk about it though, Dan, because it does make me a little bit nervous and sweaty, because it is it's a very large return for my stake sizes and stuff. So it's exciting times, but don't want to talk about it too much. We'll just let it go on in the background, and then we'll celebrate when we can celebrate.
That's all right. Look, we'll have a brief Champions League, Europa League chat at the end of the show. What else we got here? Where am I up to with this? There's a lot of comments coming. If we don't get to all the comments, I do apologise. Paul says, yeah, based on the math, it was 0-0, yeah, plus 1,200, so I'll put a little bit of pizza money on that. But the Sunday games, MLS, both hit under 2.5. Well done to Paul. Steve says, hey, Dan, hey, Lewis, hope all is good with you guys. Dave Clark says, I had Madrid minus 1.5 yesterday. Thought that game was only, they were 3-0 up, weren't they? Didn't draw. 1-3-2. I know James on the European show liked them as well, minus 1.5, unfortunately. Faddy says, MLS... no quality. I'm not so sure about that. There's some good players there. Noah says Leon screwed everyone at the weekend. Ming says Milan win surely today. We'll talk about that one in a little while. Daniel says good afternoon to the team. Steve also Milan, Mateta and Palace money line good for me. Myself and Lewis have got different opinions on this. So your team Dan and your team Lewis. Don't answer that because I know everyone's going to go team Lewis. Don't answer it. Where else have we got? Giuseppe says, hello, gents. Forest by a goal. Maybe around about plus 400. Don't mind that one at all. Before we get into the first preview that we've got for you, notable weekend soccer winners and losers from our team at Bet Rivers. And speaking of MLS, Orlando City draw no bet live. $17,000 play against the Chicago Fire was a winner. Brighton Newcastle over 2.5 goals live minus 118, which was a loser. It was a $12,000 play. I hope everyone's been following me with my Brighton possession stats, and they are still unbeaten when they've had less of the ball. It's an incredible stat, that one. Lewis.
What did they have? What was? Yeah, no, I heard that stat, and I've been digging a little bit deeper, and it definitely makes sense in terms of them against. It's got to let them have the ball, really.
Yeah, look, I mean, Brighton don't get beat when they have exactly when they have less of the ball, and that was exactly the same again against Newcastle. I mean, I played Tino bet, so I got my money back on that one. Also, Fulham plus 0.75 on the Asian line against Villa, a $10,000 play, which is a half push. This was an interesting one. Brentford against Manchester United, a $10,000 play on over 1.5 first half goals at plus 123, which was a winner. I mean, that was a crazy game. You across that one at all yesterday, Lewis? It was one that I just thought I just thought I left that one alone because I just think United. I mean, when I looked at the United lineup, it was very inexperienced, wasn't it? There was a lot of positions where I thought I've no idea who that player is, Harry and Mass, and so on reflection,
the market liked
maybe.
Brentford though, didn't they? So there wasn't any opportunities there. I found there was a little bit of juice in the goal scorer angles. Always Johan Visser is always overpriced, I think, in that spot. So I had a bit of him at plus money, but not to anything noteworthy really. It was just one of those games where you say it was a hard one to really analyse because the market was completely aligned with Brentford and there was no angle there. So it was it looked quite an entertaining game though. So always get your money's worth when you get down the G-Tech, don't you? There's always goals down there.
I love look. It's the closest ground to me. I love going down to the G-Tech. It's nice stadium. A walk to Chiswick High Road. What more do you want? Fadi also says, let's talk about the Betis winning goal. That was at Anthony, who seems to be scoring for fun.
Scored again,
Betis.
did he?
Well, I'm going to say when he comes back to the Premier League, if he comes back to the Premier League, it'll be rubbish again. Don't worry about that. Dave says Lewis has got a winner for us today. Let's hope so. What else have we got, Steve?
Well, you don't hope so. You don't hope so. What we get to in a minute.
It depends. There's only one thing that we're going to disagree on here. It's a big one, but it's only one thing. Steve from Lynn says, I'm ready to change my mind. And Steve initially said, hang on. He says, Palace money line, Steve. So I'm going to have to persuade Steve for this one. Jennifer says, game screams under today. What else we got? Byron says, Mallorca plus half a goal is minus 124. Don't mind that one at all. And Coldest Wallet. I hope your wallet's going to warm up, Coldest. How do you like the Palace Forest game? Over 2.5 at minus 102. Not really looked at the goals for the game. Ian Lights Out says easy gents, and Byron says Anthony of the World. Yeah, keeps scoring, doesn't he, Anthony? I can't have Anthony. Can you have Anthony? I can't have Anthony.
Well, just it's Manchester United way of ripping the soul and the ability out of players,
ruining players, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe I need to watch him not in a Manchester United shirt, I think, to make my judgment. But I haven't seen much of him at Betis. But if he and scores the winning goal to win the Conference League final against Chelsea, that'd be perfect. Because I've laid Chelsea in that market. So that's what. Please, Anthony, please, just one last hurrah, please.
Rick the Brick says, "Hey Dan and Lewis, I need a pick. I don't know where we go with this because let me just tell you, notable live streams for you. A lot of live action on the Bet Rivers website as per usual. Girona Mallorca in La Liga, Castellón against Gijón, which is in the second tier in Spain, Evias against Boavista in Portugal, and a couple of Swedish top flight games as well. I wish Steve was with me, then he could pronounce these teams. Malmo against Broma-Poicana, hopefully I've got that one right, and also Elfsberg against Geis. I think it's Geis, guys. Also FCSB against Dinamo Bucuresti, which is in the Romanian top flight. A lot of live action on the website and indeed the app as well. So a lot of the time, we tend to agree. Nigel can throw in a little bit. I don't agree with Jack when it comes to the Premier League show. When we do the live show, we're very respectful for each other on this show. And I've got to tell everyone that Lewis texted me this morning. He says, "Yeah, me and you today. Obviously, we'll talk about the Palace game. I've got a little bit about the European games later this week, if that's all right." I said, "Yeah, fine." Left it at that, and I was just about to text Lewis back. I was just about to say, "Do you know what? I can't believe Forest are the price that they are tonight, because to me they are a standout bet." And just as I was about to press that, Lewis says, "Yeah, by the way, I'm going to tip Palace on the money line tonight." I thought, crikey.
Oh, here we go.
Battle lines drawn here.
This is what it's all about, though. It's all about games like this, which
opinion,
we can settle. The market is completely split, and we've got one on one side, one on the other. So, this is what it's about.
We
put your money on the table and let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Look, we try and give the greater good is the Betting Weekly community and everybody who joins in. And I know there's a lot of people. There's a lot of shrewd punters, betters on the Because We Win team and the YouTube comments. Some really good thoughts, really good lines. But I know that people sometimes just want the picks, so you're gonna have to choose between me and Lewis here. I don't know why I'm saying that, because I know that
you might be able to convince me, Dan. You never know. You might be convinced by your incredible argument that's going to put me off Palace at plus money, but we'll see.
Well, okay. So look, here we go. I mean, these are the prices from our friends at Bear Rivers. Crystal Palace are plus 114. They've only won 5 games at home in the Premier League this season. There's an early little elbow in the ribs there, Lewis. Early elbow in the ribs for you there, son. The tie is plus 240, and Forest are plus 240 as well. Meninda says the lines are moving already now. Dan's position is out. Is that a good thing or bad thing, Meninda? What are you saying here? What are you saying? Over and under here is minus 112. The pair each are 2. Both teams to score, yes, minus 139. No, plus 105. And we've got some first and anytime goal scorer markets up for you as well. I know that. Have you got one play on Palace, Lewis, or have you got more than one? I can't remember what you.
Yeah, got one in the props market as well to come.
Okay,
but
right.
The money line is. I'm sweet on Palace.
Okay, who do you want to go for? Do you want me to give you my argument with?
Well, you've already dug me. You've already dug me in the ribs already, so you might as well just throw another one. Go on. Give me the reason why this Nottingham Forest team, who have lost 4 of the last 5, defensive process is crumbling all over the place, are going to beat this Crystal Palace team, who are probably the 5th best team in the Premier League and the FA Cup final at the moment. Go.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I've just got a flurry in the face there, and I've just got a jab and an uppercut. I'm getting it all. Well, look. First of all, I can't believe I'm going head to head with Lewis. I know this is going. His
legs are wobbling already. Going down.
This is going to end badly. First of all, this is 12th against 6. I know that's the most basic stat of all to kick.
I'm convinced now. Thanks, Dan. I'm convinced now. We looked at the table and we've decided that the team that are higher in the league should win the match. This is the level we're at, are we now? It's just the level we're at. Okay.
Oh dear! I tell you what, battle lines drawn here. Don't worry about this. I mean, the interesting thing, Lewis. I mean, we can agree on this. They're both counter-attacking teams. Yeah. So what's going to give here? Palace average possession 43%, Forest just over 40%, and again Palace at home around about sort of 43%, Forest away 37% on my notes. So look, something's got to give in terms of their style here, and it's which team I think will adapt more than the other. I mean, I mentioned that Palace stat. They've only won 5 games at home this season. So, I mean, how anyone can back them up plus 114, I don't know. Palace versus the top 6. Played 10, 1-0. Drawn 5, lost 5 against the top 9. They've only won 1. Forest against the bottom 9. Obviously, Palace are in the bottom 9, right at the top of the bottom 9, but then the bottom 9. Played 15, won 13, draw 1, lost 1, including a home win against Palace. Palace 1-0. I mean, you mentioned some current form there, but Premier League form: Palace 1 win in 5, Forest 2 wins in 5. I know that Palace have played better teams, but I've got a few more bullets to go. But what have you got for me for Palace? I'm framing this as draw no bet Forest. Maybe. If you played them on the quadruple handicap here, you could make something. So I'm all in on Forest. I'm going to split my stakes with money line, draw no bet, plus a quarter, Go on. What else you got? What else you
Well,
got? with Palace?
you haven't
Tell me.
mentioned the main reason why people would want to back Forest here, just because what's on the line in terms of motivation levels.
Yeah,
I think.
well,
That's how I thought you were going to convince me with
No,
this
no.
here, to say that it means more for Forest and Palace.
I
and
don't
Palace
really
on the
go
back
for
of
that. That was just an aside. That was an aside. Come on, what you got? What? Convince me to back Palace at plus 110 or whatever they are.
Right, it's all to do with the complete drop off from Nottingham Forest in terms of their defensive output. And I know you've just said that they are officially a top 6 team, but over the last 12 games, I don't think we can define Nottingham Forest anymore as a top 6 team. I think they're probably regressed to the mean in terms of where they probably should be in the league, and that in terms of their metrics and results, and that's probably around mid-table. So lost 4 of the last 5 in all competitions. This is after losing just 3 of the previous 20 games in all competitions. So people have spoken about sort of the pressure getting to them, haven't they? Perhaps bottling it as maybe the line has come closer for this Champions League qualification. They've had an absolutely sensational season. Let's not forget that. They have, to get where they've got to is an unbelievable achievement, and they deserve lots and lots of praise and credit. And the managers built a fantastic team. But the reason they've got to this level is because of the 2 centre-backs. Milenkovic and Murillo have been outstanding all season. I think I called them the best sporting partnership since Torval and Dean earlier this season, because they've been absolutely just taking Forest to where they got to in the league, and they're up.
You're making a good case for Forest. Continue.
Yeah, exactly. But here we go. This is past tense now. We're talking about, because these two, their performances of late, they've looked very leggy. They've looked very rash. And just like when forwards strikers lose form for a team, defenders can lose form too. And they are so important to everything that Nottingham Forest do. This is the reason why I am against them. And they're making mistakes in matches now. That was on show in the 2-0 defeat at home to Brentford a few days ago, where relatively simple balls over the top were not being dealt with by the defence, and that sort of cost Forest the game. And these sort of errors have just been creeping in over the last 2 months or so. And this is what Forest have built their season on, these 2 centre-backs being at it and on it. And they're just not anymore. And their defensive numbers over the last 12 games have put me off Forest completely from going anywhere near them at any sort of prices at the moment. Because across their last 12 Premier League matches, their expected goals against process is working at 1.77 per 90. And that is only 3 teams got a worse record than that: Leicester, Ipswich and Southampton, over a 12-game sample size. And they're just being punished for these lackluster numbers now, especially away from home. Conceded 2 or more goals in 7 of their last 9 games. And just without that strong spine, they both look knackered to me, Milenkovic and Murillo. They've held this team together throughout the season, and now they're just absolutely, they're reeling, I think, because about the football and the amount of pressure that's been put on them. And this drop off in the defensive metrics is seeing them concede the first goal more than often. And when they do that, this is not a team you want to be on to chase a game, because they're just not built to come back and win a game. They've lost 8 of their 9 games when conceding the first goal this season. So this is one of the reasons why I really like Palace here, because if they get in front, they win the match. Simple. There's no way, from what I've seen from Forest chasing games this season, that they have. Yeah. Normally on a team,
That's
what
fair.
I like to
they need to score first. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, if they don't score first, I can't see them winning this game at all, because they haven't shown any sort of evidence that they're capable of doing that. They've done it loads of times this season where they've conceded first, and they're not built to play that way. They're not built to go and chase the game.
Fair.
And they're playing against a team here. I mean, Crystal Palace, shown since Christmas, they're one of the best teams in the division. 29 points from their last 17 games, which would put them 5th in the table if the season started at Christmas. They're in the FA Cup final. They've probably got one of the best pound-for-pound managers in the league. He's a proper operator, I think, this Oliver Glasner. He gets his team so well organised, so dangerous in attack by playing those 3 central sort of forwards that they always get into really dangerous positions, and they don't get much of the ball and they don't see much possession, as you mentioned, but when they get it, they make use of it and they get them into really dangerous positions, really difficult team to play against. And I just think there's so much evidence here to really get against those 2. The reason for me getting against Forest is basically the centre-backs just aren't in form anymore, and they're conceding more goals than they used to. They're shipping bigger chances, and Palace have got the front 3 to take advantage of it here on the money line. And I when I was pricing it up, was it Thursday, Friday, I had them odds on. I didn't have them plus money, plus 115. I'm really, really keen on fading this Nottingham Forest team at the moment, whilst these two centre-backs are so out of form. So, and I think if you take away the best thing about a team, then there's not much else that Forest can base their results on. So I really think in those central areas, in the centre of the box against Milenkovic and Murillo, who've been so good all season, I think one of Mateta, Eze or Sarr will take advantage at some point in the match. So, yeah, I'm really keen on fading Forest here, I've got to say. I know they've done me a few favours this season, but I think it's time to jump off the train because the defenders are just so out of form.
Well, full disclosure on Forest, because a few weeks ago I took two positions with a spread bet. In the UK, I know I don't think you can probably have a spread bet in America, but I took two positions. One of them was a buy of Brighton points, and one of them was a sell of Forest points, because I thought that Forest were going to drop off, and I thought that Brighton, I thought they had games that would match them well. We talked about those possession stats earlier.
So you agree with me then? Forest are dropping off.
2 weeks ago I had this bet, and then they won their next game at Spurs, and I thought, crikey, because I thought Spurs might be in. So Spurs I sort of
Spurs aren't Palace.
This is true. And do you know what? I fully expected to come into this game tonight and just thought, do you know what? I've got to get with Palace, but I just kept looking at the numbers. Look, you're absolutely right. They have dropped off. I just think Palace aren't maybe as good as I think. I mean, current form, I think, is a little bit irrelevant to a certain extent because Palace have played better sides than Forest. So, the line that I gave before is a little bit moot. One thing that I did sort of uncover the fact that Forest unbeaten against teams playing three at the back. Now, I know that, we're talking about a drop off here. They've played 7 against sides that play 3 at the back, and they've won all 7. Now, some of them came earlier this season, so whether you think that's relevant or not, he's up to you. One of them was obviously Palace. A couple were Man United, West Ham. What else we got here? Southampton and Wolves. And also with their expected goals, I think they've won the XG battle in 5 of those 7. The 2 that they didn't was against Man United, who they've turned into Brighton under Potter, haven't they? Really, because they get a lot of XG, but they don't win games. I mean, just in terms of that motivation, I just want to pick up 1 or 2 of the comments here as well. I'm not a massive one for motivation, but you try and build your case, don't you? You take these little bits of form, these little bits of analysis and tactical things, and look, they can't go back into the top 5 with a win tonight because the goal difference isn't good enough, but they can go to 63 points. They can't they? And the goal difference is not as good as Chelsea and Newcastle. Palace have got that FA Cup final a week on Saturday. If you're a player with a bit of an injury, do you go into those challenges? I don't generally like to make those arguments. Just on the Forest defence, Ola Aina back. That's a plus, I would suggest. Hudson-Odoi is
made a bit of a rick, didn't he, on Thursday? Made a bit of a rick.
Yes, he did. Yeah, when he came back in. Yeah,
he's been very good this season.
I mean, from
it's
speaking to Forest,
harsh to define him on that.
It is.
Moment,
I mean, Forest fans will tell you that he when he plays, Forest are generally a better side. And just to pick up what you were suggesting about Oliver Glasner, and this is a Palace positive rather than a Forest positive. Glasner has said he'll pick the best possible team, hasn't he? He's come out and said, I want the momentum going into the FA Cup final. I want to win this game. And although Nuno obviously needs to win because of the Champions League situation, he suggested that his squad was tired. And maybe that buys into what you were talking about. Before we get the definitive picks, and we've got a prop from Lewis to come as well. So, before we get what I'm going to play and what Lewis is going to play, what have we got here? Hello the Night says, let Lewis talk about Bodo Glimt against Spurs. That will be fun. Yes. That'll come later. Lewis put up both teams to score, yes, on last Monday's show. Everyone had the tickets, and we're thinking, crikey, surely this has got a cop, and eventually it did. But we had to wait for that one, Lewis.
Sweating. I was sweating. That wasn't a great watch.
One.
They were worse than I thought Bodo Glimt. They were missing. The boy Steve Wiss was telling me all about Patrick Berg, and I was like, "Don't worry, they'll be fine." And then I watched them, I was like, "Oh my god, Wiss was absolutely spot on." But they struggled last week, but this game on Thursday, different kettle of fish back in the Arctic Circle. So really looking forward to getting.
We've got a play from Lewis a little bit later on that one. Dave says Crystal Palace smash Villa. They're playing well. I like it. Lewis Ming says Palace have one priority: FA Cup final. Do you take anything with that? Is it like tools down for Premier League, FA Cup final is on its way? Does that enter your assessment of the game, Lewis? I'll take that as a no.
No, just it has to be price. I thought that might have been factored into the price a little bit, to be honest, and that's why the price was bigger than maybe what I made them, because people were thinking the motivation factor was at play here with Forest. And you say Palace having eyes on the FA Cup final, players maybe not wanting to get injured and preserving themselves for that, but just by judging,
I'm never quite sure that's a thing. Once
these players get on the pitch, they feel they smell the grass, they smell the match day, and they're just in a football match, and they go. And once they're in the heat of the battle, they don't really think about what's to come over the next 2 weeks. They just want to do as well as they can, especially it's on Monday Night Football as well. Like the world's watching in a way, so you don't want to go half baked into a Premier League match with the world watching. So I think motivation is fine.
Speaking of Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh has come to my rescue here. Pittsburgh, thank God you're on the comments today. He said this, Lewis. Crystal Palace have won just 3 of the last 24 Monday-held Premier League matches, drawn 9, lost 12.
If someone could explain to me if there's any logic.
Case closed, Your Honour. Yeah. No further questions.
Okay, so we're using teams that probably had John Solarco involved, are we? From years, and Ian Wright.
He's not having it. Pittsburgh. He's not having it. Lewis. He's not having it. What else have we got?
Not having it.
Steve says he's going to be a showdown. It is a showdown. Ian Lighthouse says I'm on under 2.5 Wood anytime goal scorer. I've not looked at the goal. Have you looked at the goal line? I've not looked at it.
I haven't looked at the goal. I looked actually at Wood's shots line and Wood's goal line. I didn't actually mind it to go against what I'm just saying here. But he's got a good record against. He's got a good record against defenders that aren't as physical. That makes sense. So he can bully. I think he can probably bully this back three. So he might, and he scored. I think he scored 2 and 2 against Palace. I think in his last 2 games. So that was on my radar. The Wood goal. I think it was a little bit overpriced.
Right. Kushil Pokra says with Newcastle dropping points, Forest have to win. Talking about motivation. Steve Wiss says I gave Broma Poikana a good go. If Palace were in the FA Cup final, I could see them spoiling Forest. But is motivation the key here? I like unders the most. Dave Clark must win doesn't mean they do win. This is true. Ginepi says Forest will draw and under 3.5 goals at plus 115. I'd take that. That's for sure. Kusha says they're not going to stand there, root for 90 minutes. Come on, Lewis. Today's a new day and a massive day. Ken says, Eze shots on target. Were you across the shots on target for Eze? Have a look at that one or not, Lewis?
Always too short for me.
Yeah, I think so. He's overbet. He's overbet, isn't he?
He's very reliable in that market, but say it's not a price I'd want to get involved with for a shot on target because they can be quite volatile sometimes, the shot on target markets, and they never really get the true price, I don't think. So, not for me, that one.
Ken, tonight's game is tricky. This is true. This is why I've got different opinions. First goal, crucial, says Ginepi. Duncan says, I think Palace has all the reasons to beat Forest. I don't believe Forest will play Champions League, and this is the time to exit by design or default. Palace to win 2-1 or 2-0. Ginepi, Palace scored first only 5 times out of 17 at home. Forest 12 times out of 17 away. Well, this is what we were talking about before. They're good on the break, aren't they? Myron says, Steve Wiss. Actually, I like Genoa over 3.5 shots on target. What's 3.5 shots on target? Plus money, says Byron. Milan is done and dusted. We'll talk about that game in a sec. Rick the Brick says Forest didn't score in their last game. Ginepi, Palace will play 80%. Forest will be at 100%. Jared Barton says Palace, my biggest bet of the week. Jared says.
Here we go.
Yeah, Steve says, I've not looked at Genoa shot on target for that match. Agree with James Easton going under goals. Usually safe with Genoa. Get to that one in just a second. Dave Clark, what's Nigel got to say about this game? Isn't he the Crystal Palace specialist? Nigel has got a same game parlay on it, Dave. Wind it back to the Premier League show. We need the viewers this week. Wind it back to the Premier League show. He's got a same game parlay on the game. Ken says Florida Panthers money line minus 120 tonight. We've got basketball and baseball shows coming later. I'm not quite sure if the Panthers are one of those two, but if they are, later on tonight or this afternoon. Right, okay, look, colours to the mast, because we've prattled on for 33 minutes about one game here. I'm playing Forest on the money line, plus 240. Forest plus a quarter, about minus 103. Tino bet plus 140. I'm Forest. I'm splitting my stakes. Just money line for you.
Just money line for me, plus 115. I do have a prop in the shots market. Should we get straight into that?
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that. And Troy says, close. The Panthers are a hockey team. My American sports Nigel, great. Ming says, thought Nigel hated SGPs. He does, but he doesn't. have a look at the Premier League show. Right, we disagree on the money line with a Palace Forest game, but look, we can all agree that Lewis has put us onto some brilliant props over the course of this season. So, Lewis, what you got for us at Sellers Park?
Well, it's about Palace and their set piece output. I'm big follower of where there's matchups, a good team from set pieces against a bad team from set pieces. And Forest, over the past 12 games, as I've mentioned, their defensive output has dropped, and so has their ability to defend set pieces, because since they beat Brighton 7-0 on February the 1st, Forest are conceding 4.7 shots per game from set pieces in the Premier League, and only Ipswich have a higher average over that period. So goes along with my theory that Murillo and Milenkovic aren't quite just as dominant as they used to be, and Forest do concede lots of corners just because of the way that they play, and they defend very deep, and teams do rack up the corners against them. And this is the killer stat for me. Of the 23 centre backs to have lined up against Forest in the last 10 games, between them they've had 19 shots. So that's a huge strike rate for the centre backs when you're considering what prices some of these fellas are going off in these markets. And Palace, here we have it. We've got such a good set-piece team. They've scored the joint most set-piece goals in the Premier League this season with 16, the same as Arsenal. So this is the levels they're sort of working with. And they've had 147 shots this season. That's an average of 4.3 per game, which is actually a better ratio than Arsenal. And only Aston Villa average more per game this season. So very strong team from set pieces. So I'm expecting Palace, just on those numbers and the for and against sort of argument I've made there, to create at least probably get 4 shots away from set pieces in this game. So we've got to be looking at the centre-backs here. And Chris Richards, the Palace centre-back, plays on the right-hand side of the back three, goes up for every set piece. He is plus 110 to have over 0.5 shots, which is a fantastic price for me. The last 13 games where he started, and when he's played more than 45 minutes, he's had a shot in 9 of those 13 matches, and he's had 11 shots in total. So even if you're just doing the simple maths for sort of implied probability there, you should be getting a price of sort of minus 225, but we're able to get plus 110 here at Bet Rivers. And as always, with any centre-back shots price, you just have to cover the goal scorer price too, especially as I'm so sweet on Crystal Palace. So makes sense, not only from a logical point of view, but then it also saves you some sort of mental torture, doesn't it? If you back the shots line and that shot ends up as a goal. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's a real tough one to take sometimes. So you've just got to cover Richards to score any time at plus 2,800 as well. So that's him to score first. So I think in a game which I probably think I would favour the unders, I would just rather take the plunge on the jackpot price for the first goal scorer rather than just the any time. And he scored away at Man City a few weeks back as well with one of those 13 shots that he's had. So, yeah, I think there's a massive mismatch here with Palace set pieces, very strong. Forest have shown recently they're very vulnerable from them, which has been a strong trait for most of the season under Nuno. He's managed to sort it out. But the last 12 games, as I mentioned, their defensive metrics across the board have just dropped. So Palace going to cause lots of problems from set pieces. And Chris Richards, plus 110 for a shot. Yeah, that'll do me.
Yeah, have a look at that first goal scorer as well. Whenever there's, Nigel talks about this a lot, and he makes a really good point, and Lewis has mentioned it this season. If you think it's going to be under goals, play the first goal scorer. You know, a little bit of a stake. Get whatever your staking plan is, and just have a little sort of 5%, 3%, or whatever it is on first goal as well as any time. But yeah, the shot on target is the main one for Chris Richards. I think he came through.
No, just the shot, Dan. Just the shot, not
just
shot
a shot. Sorry, just a
any
shot.
Any shot plus 110. Yeah, any
That's
shot.
Even
so
better.
Can come off his head, can go in, land in the Thames. It doesn't matter,
Rosette,
wherever.
yeah,
exactly.
Sorry, no, it's brilliant. I love that. I mean, I think he came through FC Dallas's academy, but I'd have to check that. We're going to get Lewis's thoughts on a little bit of Champions League action just at the end of the show. We have prattled on an awful lot about Palace against Forest, but hopefully you've got some bets out of the pair of us. Or one of us. Let's just have a look at some of the other games we got. Genoa, Milan. Milan are minus 139 here. Genoa plus 370. There's not a lot on this one at all. Genoa, very unlikely to go down. Milan ain't going to get top 4. Probably won't get a European place via their league position. They can via a win in the Coppa Italia. They take on Bologna on the 14th of May. So, you're not talking too far away. Genoa lost their last 2, but their home record is all right. They've won 5 of the last 7, only 2 defeats in their last 11. But they are a very poor first half team. They're 18th in the first half table. Only 3 times have they been ahead at the break, and at home it's only once. And they've only scored 2 first half goals since the start of December, both against Lecce, who are just outside of the relegation zone. And Milan rank 7th in the first half away table, and they have scored in the first half in each of the last 3. I think you can have a bit of fun on the Asian line. First half, minus a quarter Milan at minus 124. It's a half loss if it's a draw at half time, but I think Milan might be able to nudge in front. And the other interesting situation with this is that myself and Steve's put it on the comments here. We've talked about Genoa a lot and the fact that they are a little bit of an unders team. Now, as you can see with the overs lines there, over is minus 134, under is minus 103. But the interesting thing here is that although Genoa are an unders team, Milan are very much an overs team. Since Conceição took over, 12 away games and 8 have gone over. And in 10 home games since Patrick Vieira took over at Genoa, 7 have been under. So it's a real split. So I couldn't really look at that over and under line with real confidence and say play the unders as we have done with Genoa games. But the interesting fact is that with both teams to score no, in that time frame I've just mentioned, it's 6 out of 10 for Genoa and 6 out of 12, both teams to score no for Milan, home and away respectively under their current coaches. You could argue that plus 102, both teams to score no is a smidge of value. I'm going to play that Asian line for the first half, Milan at minus a quarter at minus 124, and also both teams to score no would be the play here. For me, what have we got with our YouTube commenters for this one? Milan says, Byron says, what are we talking about here? Little sceptical of under 2.5. Under 2.75 is minus 148, so I'm out. I think Milan get 2, probably concede a goal. Real Brendan King talking about the Palace game again, minus 1 Asian corner line. Byron says both are beachy. That is 2. We were going to try and introduce a beach index, Lewis, which we've got the power index on our Betting Weekly newsletter. We're going to try and do a beach index for teams on the beach.
Over under pina colada line. Yeah, I like it.
yeah, I like that. Byron says Milan 2, Genoa 1. Correct score plus 650. Do we trust Milan's defence for both teams to score? No, it's a fair shout. Look, I'm looking at numbers. I'm looking at averages and nothing else with that. Just to take you back to that Palace game, incidentally, most of the money's on Forest. They've gone plus 250 to plus 240. Bet Rivers have got 84% of the money and 63% of the tickets on Forest. 73% of the money on unders, 69% of the tickets on over.
Smells like mug money to me, Dan. Now.
Yeah, it does a bit. Palace have lost the first half in 4 of the last 5 EPL night matches. Both teams to score a hit in each of Forest's last 5. Just 1 or 2 of the stats there that we got.
First goal. It's all about the first goal.
Isn't it? They're counter-attacking teams.
Whoever gets the first goal wins the game. I know it's an old cliche, isn't it? But first goal absolutely crucial. That's
Forest. You look at expected goals with Forest. They shouldn't be where they are, but the way that they play means that they don't dominate. They don't take a lot of shots. They get in front and they stay in front. So
game state has dictated it, hasn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. It's a strange one, isn't it? Milan game, 98% of the money, 98% of the tickets on Milan, 55% of the money on unders, 71% of the tickets on over. Milan won 6 straight matches at Stade Luigi Ferraris following a win, and both teams scorers hit in each of Genoa's last 5 Serie A matches. I'm gonna go both teams go no. I'm gonna go against those stats. One final little bit of housekeeping on tonight's games. This is Girona against Mallorca, and this is another one a little bit like the Palace game. I think, what on earth have they done with these prices? Girona here are minus 110. Checks the table, which is the barometer, as me and Lewis have agreed on here. Checks the table. Girona are 17th, 3 points outside the relegation zone, and Mallorca are 10th here. Mallorca can still get European football. They're plus 320 to win this one. I mean, the European places in Spain are a little bit like England. It could go to, I think it's definitely going to go 8th because Barca have won the Copa del Rey. So it could go 9th. It might even go 10th, depending on Athletic Club and Real Betis in Europe and stuff. But I can't get my head around why Girona are such short price favourites. They had a great season last season. They qualified for the Champions League, as we know. But they are in the bottom three of the 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12 match form tables. They've only won 6 at home. Mallorca have won 6 away. Only 5 teams have won more, including the top 3 away from home in La Liga. They've only lost 3 of the last 11. There's a lot of good stats here on Mallorca. They've got 2 players coming back from suspension, Dani Rodriguez and Pablo Maffei. Sometimes you look at these previews, you think, well, how important are these players? You've always got to check whether they're regulars or not. And these guys have played 25 plus games this season, started them. So, they're key players for Mallorca. I think Mallorca or tie minus 122 is a really solid play here. A draw would keep Girona 4 points clear of the bottom 3 with 4 games left. Mallorca would go into the European spots with a draw as well. It could easily be a draw. I'd rather have Mallorca on side than Girona. Money line, 70% of the money, 8% of the tickets on Girona. Most of the money's coming over. Mallorca are an underside, but as you can see from the market here, under is minus 159. They're always short for unders because they don't score a lot of goals. But I'll take them to get a positive result on that one. Anything from our commenters on this one? It doesn't appear. Giuseppe says, alarm bells for Girona. They really need to win this one. Well, I guess they do, but are they good enough? They're a bad team. Bad teams don't start being good teams because they've been bad all season, do they? Just because, it goes back to Giuseppe, what we were talking about earlier, just because they need to win. Just because
it's a must win, yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean they are going to win, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is it. Ian says, draw half-time in the Palace match. He likes that one. And Fadi Azam, presumably talking about the Liga game, talks about cards. Probably it is Spain after all. So, in summary for the European action, Mallorca or tie, minus 122. I'm going to play both teams to score no in the Milan game. My fears of the Milan defence, I get that. A better bet, certainly. Milan in the first half Asian line, the minus a quarter ball Asian line at minus 124. If it's a draw at half time, it's a half loss. Let's get Lewis back in with some picks when it comes to the European games. Obviously, we've not got the graphics for it, but we like to get Lewis's thoughts because generally they've been very, very profitable. This is the time of the show where I usually say, are you going to do anything with your PSG bet? But we've talked about it already. And nobody can say that Lewis did not tell them because Lewis has been banging on about PSG for the best part of 3-4 months or however long it's been. So, Paris Saint-Germain, Arsenal. Anything to add to your portfolio here? Anything match-wise for Wednesday's game?
No, I'm just fingers crossed that PSG can just do what they've done in all these home games against the British teams and more or less anyone in this competition and just run all over Arsenal and just take the game to them, have no fear, and just swat them aside. And let's move on to the final. Where if Barcelona get there, that final, dearie me, how good is that going to be? If both those teams get there, that is those. I think I would pay lots and lots of money to try and get to that game if I could, to see that game live, because that could be one of the classic Champions League finals. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Arsenal, I think they're about sort of plus 600 to qualify. I think that's fair enough. I mean, that just is about right. I think. Thomas Partey coming back is going to help them. That might be
massive.
a good angle for punters that think they might have a better chance against PSG because he's back in there and there might be a bit of juice in the value. Declan Rice is then obviously going to move back into the 8 role, which is a position that is just made for him, isn't it? He's going to play there for the rest of his career, Dan, do you think?
Listen, I've talked about it with my co-commentator at AD Clark, my co-commentator at Arsenal, and he says that's his game. That is his game. He's not going to be that defensive-minded player. So, it's a given, I think. And you like him sort of shots-wise, do you?
Yeah, I do. I think in a game where Arsenal have to throw everything at PSG here, I think his shots lines are really, really interesting because since he's changed positions, I'm not sure the markets have quite caught up yet with his change.
Because all his stats don't bear that out, do you? You look back at his season and he suggests that you shouldn't be betting him for shots and so on.
Well, he's had 53 starts now playing the number 8 position, and he's had in that time he's got 12 goals and 16 assists, which is a hell of a goal involvement return really already for a player that's not used to playing that position. It's a really strong figure, and his shots per 90 as well is 2.1 in those 53 starts. And it's just really, they're all really interesting here. I think we saw how he played against Bournemouth especially in the first half on the weekend. He was making those runs, timed his runs brilliantly, got into great positions. I think he had 3 shots in the first half there. And just his price here, plus 175 with Bet Rivers for over 1.5 shots against PSG. It's a really nice bet, I think. He's their biggest attacking weapon, I think, alongside probably Saka. At the moment, he's the guy that need to get the ball to. He's going to be the ones making the runs in the box. They're going to be trying to get him on the end of these balls they're going to put into the box. And he's making so many runs into the box at the moment and just get into those dangerous areas that chances are going to drop his way in what could be quite an open game. But Arsenal have to go and win. They have to score from the very first minute. They've got to go after it. So I think you're getting a good run for your money here at plus 175 for Rice over 1.5 shots.
There you go. Have a look at that one for the Wednesday game. We've got notable Monday soccer wages that I'm going to tell everybody. So stay with us here. We've got notable Monday soccer wages. We've got 3 of them. I'm going to tell everybody where the money is going, where the big plays are going after Lewis has given his thoughts on Bodo Spurs. You got a play in Bodo Spurs? Have you got a play in this
Spurs?
One?
Yeah. I mean, I love this game. This is going to be theatre, isn't it? I mean, it's just a footballing giant like
what
Spurs. What
prices both teams to score? Yes. Are we on that train again, or is it too short?
No, short. Too short this time. The bet has to be Bodo. Has to be, doesn't it? I mean, this is a footballing giant travelling to the southern edge of the Arctic Circle to save their season. It's like something from a movie, isn't it, or something? It's like going to a different planet. This it's just brilliant. Plastic pitch. Temperature's going to be probably just below freezing by kickoff. It's just all set up for an absolutely dramatic evening, isn't it? And Bodo only need to win the game by 2 goals, something which they've done already multiple times this season in Europe. They beat Tel Aviv at home by 2, beat 20 by 2 or more, beat Olympiacos by 2 or more, beat Lazio by 2. I mean, this challenge is going to hold no fear for them. And they've won 9 of their last 10 home European matches. And just wanted to dig a little bit deeper on those metrics, just to make sure that they wouldn't, that the underlying numbers backed it up. And they absolutely do from a Bodo perspective. In those, in their last 8 games at home, they are averaging 2.27 worth of expected goals per 90.
God,
that is an unbelievable figure. Yeah. And they're averaging 15.5 shots per 90, 5.9 shots per target per 90. So this isn't your typical minnow team that's just defending numbers and are ruthless with their chances. This is a proper, aggressive, attack-minded team that are one of the best teams in Europe at home. So I can't believe we can get minus 110 on Bodo with a quarter goal head start on the Asian handicap. It's one of the best bets I think I've seen this year for certain. Definitely in any sort of European bet game that I've seen this season. Because I was expecting the line to be a lot different. I'm not sure they'd give them a quarter goal head start here. I think it's a sensational bet because it means we get a full stakes return if they win the game, Bodo, which I think they will. And we still make half stakes profit if they draw, which is absolutely a brilliant investment to make. And the only way the only way we lose on the game is Spurs win the game, which they don't need to do. So, and this Spurs team, they just haven't won. They failed to win 8 of their last 9 games in the league. They've lost 19 Premier League games this season. That's the most they've lost in a single season since 1912. So this isn't a good Spurs team. They're absolutely being overrated by the markets. The psychological factor is not put into the prices here. Bodo get a goal. Spurs are going to be so nervy. And this is just a very, very, very good team at home. One of the best in Europe. They're going to play so much more different with Patrick Bird back in that midfield. And to get them with a quarter goal head start on the Asian handicap, minus 110, I just think it's a fantastic bet. And if you are having a bet on the game, you've just got to have any sort of pro Bodo based play on this game because the prices I think are just completely wrong. So yeah, really looking forward to this on Thursday. It's going to be a fantastic spectacle. It's going to be dramatic, and Spurs have got to go there and beat a very good team on their own patch, and I don't think they will. And if you want, I think you can get plus 800 as well on Bodo to qualify. So that's certainly a runner as well.
Just looking at plus 700 at the minute. Yeah,
plus 700. Yeah, I would rather just play the match odds, but if you want to take it a swing at Bodo to qualify, I would not put you off based on what we've seen from him this season in Europe. So yeah, I'm very looking forward to Thursday. I think it's going to be a fantastic match, and I'm hoping to make quite a lot of money, Dan, from it.
Yeah, no, love that. Love the confidence. Look, we said it this time last week about the Bodo. Both teams to score yes, but Lewis put that one up. I think a lot of people were looking at Spurs and both teams to score yes, weren't they? On the day, the price came in a little bit, but tend to think that Lewis is even more confident with this one. I mean, they're plus 195 to win the game at the minute. That could change. Spurs are favourites. We don't really agree with that. They don't need to win, of course, if you take that factor in. Look, it's going to be an interesting midweek for sure. Steve's going to be on the show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Obviously, Thursday with James, they're going to be talking about that game. But as ever, as Will White always says, if you're going to get on some of these prices, best thing is to get on early. You know, we're talking Monday mid-morning, going up to lunchtime stateside. Get your bets on for that one. Final few comments before we wrap things up, and I'll tell you the big bet of the night that I nearly forgot about. Steve just texted me, and thanks to Troy for emailing me. Foxy says, what about the shots line in the Girona game? They look scared to shoot the ball. I don't think Mallorca might have many shots. Yeah, possibly. I've not looked at that data, Foxy. Look, you're good at those sort of things, but I would suggest that get with Mallorca somehow would be my play. What else have we got here? Yeah, Byron says Bodo plus a quarter goal minus a 113. Steve is talking about the fact that Bodo have had the whole weekend off, and he plays in Sweden. From Steve, I don't know if Steve's going to pay anything. What's Steve put up here? Malmo by a couple of goals and maybe Elfsborg 1-0 home win or under. It's not the Swedish show yet, Steve. Just, you got your own private thing to sort that out. Dave Clark says Malmo on the money line. And Byron says Malmo minus 125 is minus 107 on the Asian line. Big bets of the night. We've had 3 big bets on the soccer tonight. Where are they? I nearly forgot to mention these. Silly of me. I should have mentioned right at the start. Where are they? I've lost them again. I'll have to get them up. Here we go. Panathinaikos on the money line against Volos. I think that's the Greek Super League. A $10,000 and a $15,000 play. So if you like Panathinaikos on the money line against Volos, if you're following the money. And also in the Premier League game tonight, which is Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest.
Have we mentioned that game?
There's been a $50,000 play with Bet Rivers. So 50k on the money line. There's only 3 possible outcomes on the money line. One is the draw, one is the home win, and one is the away win.
This is the sort of insight we're into. This is what amazing insight you bring to the show, eh?
The $50,000 play has come on Nottingham Forest.
So they've laid your bet then, Dan. They laid your bet. Yeah.
I'm not joking here. We get the information. 50 grand on Forest.
I would
changing your mind. Changing your mind yet?
No, I'd be happy to lay that. That's fine.
Lewis is taking 50k bets everywhere. No one can get on in the UK. Lewis is
yeah,
50k.
As long as the wife's not watching, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, there's been a very sizable wager. I can tell you it's not mine, but I will look. We're all bettors on this show. I know everyone likes to have a bet on the comments as well. I will be betting Forest tonight. I wish Lewis well as a sporting gesture. Hopefully the prop bet will come. What's the prop bet? We're wrapping things up here. What's the prop bet again? Chris Richards.
Not Cliff Richard. Chris Richard over 0.5 shots plus 110. Plus 110. Yeah.
Brilliant. We look forward to all of the action tonight and midweek. We've got a lot coming up. We've gone on for nearly an hour here, so apologies for rattling on. We have got the tennis live show coming your way at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's Mitch Michaels and Dustin Fox in the chair. Then 2 brand new shows, Betting Weekly Hardball, the latest MLB action with Doug Kazarian and Wes Reynolds. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern. At 3 p.m. Eastern, Doug's staying in the chair. He's a busy man, Doug. As we know, he's going to be alongside Chris Massaro for Fast Break, our brand new show highlighting all of the best plays in the world of basketball. Live show is back tomorrow. Good luck with your bets tonight. Come on, Forest. Lewis, great to have you on the show again.
Eagles.
That is your lot. Goodbye. Good luck tonight, everybody.